Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Liverpool Latest. My name is Matt, and I have another big episode for you guys today. We are just a little while away facing Tottenham, and if we all remember, last season in our second go around against Tottenham, that is the game that won us the league. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is going to be a good match for us. I'll talk about the game in a few minutes, but first, I have a couple of updates for you guys I would like to discuss. Arsenal had a press conference detailing some of the injuries and who's available for tomorrow. The good news is Dominic Szoboszlai has been training partially and is expected to be available versus Tottenham. And if he's fully fit, which I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, if he's fully fit, he'll probably be a first choice starter, which is going to be good. I think the options with him are much more feasible than the options without him. And I think the fact that, Szoboszlai playing kind of determines whether or not the midfield is going to excel or it's going to give us a problem over the course of the match. As expected, Joe Gomez is ruled out. Not too much to say about that. Unfortunate as it is. Thankfully, Connor Bradley is returning from suspension, so he'll be able to take that place back from Gomez. Frimpong is back in full training and is available to substitute in, which I would not be shocked if I see his name run on the field. First involvement, like I said, since October. So, more good news in that regard. Gakpo, probably going to be out. That was expected. Will miss Spurs and Wolves. So, but his return is earlier than originally anticipated. So, he'll definitely be back come the new year, I believe. It's just a matter of when at that point. Endo has no update, unfortunately. For whatever reason, they still continue to have Leone on this list. I know he's been hurt all season, but come on, man. I keep saying this every time I see his name here. I mean, he's out until next year. He's out until next season. Why do we have to keep bringing it up? Why does any outlet have to bring it up? Because we know he's not going to play. But either way, the options as far as Szoboszlai goes, if he does not start, there's a couple of options we do have, which I'm not going to say are stellar. They're not what I would have preferred, but, obviously, McAllister would probably be advancing into the number 8 position, which is the most likely if Szoboszlai does not start. Endo would go to the number 6. Gravenberch would probably be left-sided number 8. And as I said, McAllister would probably be the right-sided number 8. So that's probably my favorite option of the options I've seen and reports that I've talked about and, people I've watched. That's probably the best option in my opinion. And it has probably two of our other better midfielders in place. Endo starting, though, I like Endo, don't get me wrong, but Endo starting after basically not playing the whole season, more or less. He's played here and there, but for short periods of time. He hasn't actually had any sort of long-term impact in a game. So I kind of worry how fit he actually is going to be for a game like this, because I don't expect Tottenham to be a cakewalk by any means. So there's also the option of not having Gravenberch in and throwing Curtis Jones in on the left or right. And Curtis Jones has been doing really good lately. And if that is the option that is presented, I would not be disappointed. Would I like it? Not preferably, but it's still a better option than a few others that I have seen. Like the double pivot system work or system tweak, I should say, that I'm seeing reported by a couple of outlets and talked about by a few outlets, where Endo and McAllister do a double pivot, and Wirtz is the central number 10. I don't really know about that. I don't. Again, this all comes down to cohesion for me. And I know injuries happen, but now starting to fuck with the cohesion of everything, putting Endo in, who hasn't played much all season, like with McAllister and Verts, is not my ideal option. It's not. And I like Verts in this position too. I think we can probably throw if it was my choice, if Szoboszlai wasn't starting at midfield, Verts would definitely be in, Maka would definitely be in, and Gravenberg would play in some capacity. I think Maka could probably be in there as well, subbed on, because, his form has been a little bit questionable as of late. But it's not even a question whether or not Endo starts. I don't think Endo starts at all. If anything, he subs on. So I'm seeing just so many options that I just don't particularly care for. Obviously, the first two might be the best of the bunch that I have seen, that I've talked about, but the rest of them aren't even worth discussing because they just don't make any sense to me. And plus, like I said, Szoboszlai might start to begin with anyway. So all of these options I'm talking about don't matter in the end of the day. So what does matter, though, are the questions being asked about Alexander Isak, as he was asked, about his form and why it's taking him so long to adjust with Liverpool. And it is a direct quote that he admits, "I don't really have the answer." And I don't think personally that it's a deflection of the question. If anything, I think he's being honest, because he hasn't played a whole lot, in the sense where when he starts, he doesn't really make too much of an impact into the game. He seems like he's kind of out of form a lot of the time, and when he presses, he's kind of behind the eight ball here. I mean, there's been a couple of times where he's been on it, and obviously he has 2 goal involvements throughout the course of the season, but if we're taking it down to brass tacks, us fans are uneasy because we see how Ekitike is playing, who we've spent less money on, and we see how Isak is playing, who was supposed to be our star pickup, and nothing's really happening. And the good thing is that Isak accepts this as both a team and personal responsibility. I do think when we signed him, while it was great on paper, and it hurt our budget a little bit, I think once we got Ekitike, we didn't really need Isak anymore. Because I think Ekitike has been more of the better option, and it sucks to say, but the questions that people are asking of Isak, and is he up to form? Because I don't think you can use the excuse of, oh, he didn't use the preseason to prepare because he was having his problems with Newcastle trying to get out. That's not an excuse anymore. We're in December, almost into January, into a whole new year. If you are not fit enough to play, you're not fit enough, or you're not good enough, or the system isn't working for you. You can't blame a preseason anymore, in my opinion. He could have easily trained in his own right, maybe not with the team, but he could have trained in his own right, trying to prepare himself for the season, and it would have to play catch up a little bit, but it seems like he didn't do anything. And at least that's how I perceive these readings talking about the situation. So the output versus the expectation is startling, to say the least. Okay, I mean, we cost us $125 million. He's got 1 Premier League goal and 1 I don't know if it was Champions League or FA Cup or EFL Cup, one of the two. Either way, I think Ekitike is probably our better option in this regard. And there's also talks about the whole deal with Salah, because Salah is obviously still going to find his way into conversations that have nothing to do with him, and whether or not the relationship between the two is blown up in the sense where it's oversimplified for some people, where it's the frustrations of Salah in his own role is affecting Isak and his role with the team. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I don't think the two coincide with each other at all. I think both guys are good as players. I just think the system fits one better than it fits the other. And I think, like I said, Ekitike fits the system a lot better than Isak does at this point in time. Now, there's a rumor going around of Liverpool selling Isak in the summer if he does not progress any further than what he's at right now. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow, if you ask me. So, not only is he a record signing for us, 2 goals to $125 million is going to be pretty rough. Considering how Arne Slot has treated some of our star players and how he's benched them for not performing up to his standard or what he expects them to perform at, the same could be said about Isak being gone at the summer. All right? I'm not saying that this is plausible by any means, but it's certainly something that is something to think about. Will it be reality? I don't know. $125 is a lot to just throw away after 1 year. But the fact of the matter is he's got to adjust to the system. And right now, he's not doing that. Ekitike is red hot. It's basically a tactical mismatch, as I said. He doesn't fit into the system where a striker under Slot must, press aggressively, drop between lines, and then participate in link play. Excuse me, words are hard. Link play at the speed that is expected of them. And Isak just doesn't fit that role right now. He's better with space. He's not initiating pressure. Maybe he's like someone who gets involved or something along those lines. He just gets involved with the rest of the team, and he's not someone to press like Salah is or Ekitike is. But obviously, when the ball comes to him, the option for him to score is going to be there. It also could come down to, confidence and his rhythm, being the fact that he hasn't started all that much. He hasn't performed all that well. He's had injuries, too. I forgot to mention that. So there was an injury that he had by the international break. That was something that was going to affect him. And I don't know if it's still affecting him, but clearly he's been playing a little bit. So maybe he's coming down from that injury, finally. But the question is, are we really going to sell him, though? And if he's still a second choice by April, I could see that being very plausible. And there would also have to be a very strong offer in place of him to get it, because obviously we're going to need some return on investment back for spending that much money. And it seems like Barcelona is a team that keeps being mentioned because it seems like their system, with them being space runners, tactical forwards, and positional attacks where players thrive, maybe La Liga might be the better option for Isak. Do I agree with that? Listen, I'm a newer fan to football. Okay, I've been watching it for a few years now. I've been supporting the team, as in Liverpool, since then. I don't know what leagues are better than the others as far as what's good for a player's play style. Okay? If Barcelona and La Liga have a better play style for Isak, he should go to the La Liga. If he wants to stay on Liverpool, which clearly he wanted Liverpool, hence why he wouldn't have caused this whole issue with Newcastle in the first place, maybe he could find a way to make it work for him. Right now, I don't really see that happening. But I also don't necessarily believe in the idea of selling him either, because unless we're going to get a return on investment, I'm not saying we got to rush him out, but he's got to improve too. And we'll have to see how well he adapts his play style, because like I said, I've seen reports saying that April would be the time to think about such a thing. And at that point, I would agree. So we're going to have to give him a little bit more time. maybe a couple more starts if the opponent calls for it. But I definitely don't think we should be sacrificing Ekitike's performance and his momentum for the sake of someone we spent more money on and potentially has a bigger name. Because if you ask my honest opinion, Ekitike just might be not the replacement that we need for when Salah is gone from Liverpool, if that's the end of this season or 2027. So that's just something to think about right now. Don't shoot the messenger, because I can only give my opinion on situations. I am no expert, as I always say, but here's what I will say, though. This game against Tottenham's going to be very good. I think this is a good matchup for us. Tottenham is always going to be a very tough opponent. I personally hate Tottenham after what happened a couple of years ago with that one particular game. I think it was like in October of 23 or something along those lines. And boy, oh boy, that was one of the worst ref matches I have ever seen in my life. The refs were really bad then. I can only imagine the shit show that's going to cause us now. The good news is we have some momentum going into the game. You know, we have a very positive recent run with a couple of wins and unbeaten across several matches and back-to-back clean sheets. Tottenham, on the other hand, have been a little bit inconsistent and only having a handful of wins in recent defeats, challenging these squads' confidence. Now, as a fan, I have a couple of people that I know that are Tottenham fans, okay? I need that bragging rights. One of my coworkers is actually a Tottenham fan. Funny enough, let me tell you a quick story. His first day on the job, he saw my phone. I was looking at my home screen, or not my home screen. I was looking at my lock screen, which is actually Liverpool holding up the Premier League trophy, because I was just so ecstatic about that moment that I put it as my lock screen. I haven't changed it since, even despite all of the problems we have had so far this season. He asked me, oh, I'm a Liverpool fan. And I'm like, yes, I am. Do you watch football? Hoping he says Liverpool. And he's like, yes, I'm a Tottenham fan. And I'm like, oh, you bastard. We're cool, though. He's a good guy. But I got to be honest with you. I want to win just to rub it in his face a little bit. I want to send him a text and send him a photo or a video or a GIF or something of Liverpool just being victorious and just rubbing it in his little face that much more. Also, a buddy of mine from a podcast that I am friends with, I would like to rub it in his face as well, because we've kind of had our own little feud since that infamous Tottenham game a few years ago. What's the formation going to look like is the question I ask myself every single time. Clearly, they might just run with the 4-2-3-1 pattern, and I think if they keep kind of the same players in the positions that they had last time, which was very cohesive in my opinion and very well connected and clearly gave us results as far as pressing goes and chances and passes and just sturdiness in the midfield and defense, I think we might be okay. I definitely believe Ekitike needs to be highlighted as the key guy. He's definitely got to be our number one guy in the front there at the number one position, and I think that goes without saying, given how hot of a run he's been on. I think Salah not being on the team is going to, because of AFCON, is going to make or break someone like Ekitike and Isak, because these are now the two guys that we have to rely on now. And right now, Ekitike is winning that by a large margin, right, in my opinion. So we'll just have to see where that goes. Tottenham, on the other hand, are hampered by a couple of absences, some injuries sustained, and, of course, international break call-ups, because I'm sure they have a couple of players that are going to AFCON as well. Their defense is still a continued concern given their inconsistency. Conceding multiple goals have been a pattern across recent matches for them. The setup for them will also likely be the same, according to some predictions that I have ran into AI just to see what's going to happen. And 4-2-3-1 just so happens to be the formation that is predicted, which was the same formation we had against Brighton, I believe. We both ran 4-2-3-1, and clearly it worked out in our favor. Granted, I'm not sure how much the actual formation shifted a little bit after the Gomez injury and Salah came on. I forgot what it switched to, but it's going to be a very interesting match with both guys potentially running, or both teams potentially running the same formation. I expect a pretty large advantage going in our direction because of the fact that we've been a little bit more consistent as of recent, but I could always be wrong. As long as we can just control the possession and the tempo of the match and dictate the match by our pace, which is something we've struggled with all season. It seems like many of games we're playing catch up with the other team. When we've been dominating games, as of recent, or at least controlling games better, we fare a lot, and I mean a lot better. And I think that's the team that we expect. So we got to keep doing what we're doing. I don't see too many changes from Slot outside of a few names here and there as far as who starts. So I have a good feeling about this match. I think we're probably going to win. Maybe not by a large margin, 2-1 at the most, but I think it's less likely. It's more likely for us to win than Tottenham likely to draw or take a lead and win the match. I think it's that part is much less likely for me. I think we're going to win this match, but it's going to be entertaining nonetheless. So in the end, that is my prediction. Not that there's any favoritism involved at all. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Liverpool Latest. I appreciate you being here. Please leave a like and comment down below your thoughts on everything I've talked about today. By the time this episode comes out, the match will be about an hour away. So obviously, I'll be giving you guys my opinions on the match tomorrow. And I hope that you enjoy that as well. As always, up the Reds. You'll never walk alone.